Okay, here's a little video review of what we're going to do in class where we look at other people teaching and try to make sense of those EdTPA rubrics about what good instruction is. Before you watch this, you should watch the videos that go over the different rubrics. But basically, when we think about it, right, the different rubrics that we have involve the classroom environment. What kind of relationship does a teacher have? What kind of learning environment is there? Engaging student learning, and that means cognitive engagement, not just doing busy work, but actually time on task towards the related skills or the major strategy that you're trying to teach. Deepening student knowledge, the ability to follow up, right, and make sure that one, students really understand it, and two, when they do, deepen their understanding by giving them new situations, new questions that frame the idea in a new way. And you can work that in a lot of different ways. We'll see how these people do it. Then we have the subject-specific pedagogy, and a lot of this requires giving them opportunities to actually practice rather than you just standing up there and doing it, making sure that you have kind of a reduction in scaffolding along the way, the whole I do, we do, you do sort of thing, where then you go around and monitor progress and make sure that some people get the help that they need and some people get challenged in the way they need to be challenged. Then the last thing is really just a reflection, which is what this is all about. Can you think about why things went well and why they didn't, and can you tie it into theory when you consider next steps? So we're going to look at here is just a video of a student teacher, and this one doesn't go that well, but what I want you to do is, one, get a gauge of how you feel about this person after a few seconds, because a lot of research has shown that we make our judgments in the first few seconds that we see somebody or exposed to something, and everything that comes after is kind of colored by that. It's hard to change. So here it is to begin with. The audio will be a little bit fuzzy. I'm going to stop and point some things out, but we'll try to figure out what this lesson is about and where this teacher might improve herself.
Does anybody remember what this word is? Brian?
Information.
It's another word for information. It's data.
Okay, so right there, right, she asked people if they remembered what the word is, right? Somebody said information. One of the key things throughout teaching and the EdTPA for that matter is the ability to give feedback in a timely and meaningful way. Now, the student asked, or she asked the students, and the students said information. Because it's a sight word, I can see why she just wanted to, right, talk about it, but she should point out that it begins with a D and have people try to sound it out. These are words that they must have gone over before, but that was a missed opportunity for feedback and to get other kids involved, right? One wrong answer, no, the word is data.
What is the picture telling us? What is the data on the picture telling us?
How many fruit?
It's favorite foods.
How many people like the carrots and the apples or the sandwiches?
Exactly. Which one is the most? How many people like which food? Sandwich.
The sandwich.
They like the sandwiches the most. All done.
Oops.
When you're ready to.
Didn't want to do
How
that.
many fruit?
It's favorite foods.
How many people like the carrots and the apples?
Now note when she does this, right, she agrees before the girl is done, and we're not sure whether that was a good thing or bad. It seems to have worked out okay in this situation. But watch how she keeps things moving going forward here.
Exactly. Which one is the most? How many people like which food? Sandwich.
The sandwich.
She asks them, right, and a few kids answer, but I'm not sure if everyone knows the answer to that and how they would come to that conclusion, right? Perhaps modeling, counting up the different marks in the particular data or graph would be helpful there.
Like the sandwiches the most.
And the carrots.
What about carrots? Do very many people like carrots?
No.
No. How many are in the? How many tally marks do we have in the carrot section?
3.
3.
Now note there too with the apple, a lot of people said 4, some people said 5. The right answer is 5. But right there, when you think of how tally marks are usually represented, you have vertical, 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 and then the number 5 is a diagonal across to show that it's a unit of 5. Kids didn't get that apparently because a lot of them said 4, but she doesn't take time to correct it, so there's another missed opportunity.
There's tally marks. I like apples a lot. I like apples.
Everybody, eyes on me. Quiet voices, eyes on me.
Now, right now, you probably have formed an opinion of this particular person. In the beginning, she was kind of getting things settled, didn't really move into the action. That was wasted time. Don't do that in your video because, again, it's going to make you look disorganized and like nothing's going on. But if you also look at her facial expression, and I asked you to rate what kind of rapport she has with the kids, she seems to be in a very stressed out, need to control the situation mode. She doesn't look like she's having fun. She doesn't appear to be at ease. She doesn't appear to be that organized either. And as we go through, we'll see that the kids are attentive. They have some energy, but they're not really following the room rules that well.
So this picture graph, this data is telling us that
Information.
giving us information on what kinds of foods people like the most. And according to this graph, it's telling us that they like sandwiches the most, right? Okay.
I found me. Let's
Talk about, what is this picture telling you?
Dada.
Again, there's no correction of sounding things out, right?
What picture is this telling you?
And if you can't read it, it says equal groups.
We have,
Affirmation. Equal.
okay, just me talking right now, okay?
Equal.
I have how many apples here in this picture?
3.
And how many apples in this picture?
3.
So, is that the same or different? Is it equal?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have.
So it seems like a lot of people get the idea of equal, that when things are the same, they're equal. But you're not sure because you can't see the kids in the back. You don't know how many kids answered that correctly. But it seems that people get it. But there's something about the way she explains it that doesn't really work out that well.
2 equal groups. We have 3 apples in this group and 3 apples in this group, so we have 2 equal groups.
And right there, where she says, I have 3 here and 3 here, and then she makes the 2 sign, 2 equal groups. Mathematically, 3 and 3 equals 2, and the idea that equal needs to be 2 groups doesn't really make sense and can be confusing. So there would have to be a better way to explain that. And then the girl just said that they kind of add up to 5, and that's not true. But there's no correction again.
And they equal 6.
And now somebody said they equal 6, but again, there's no discussion about it.
I only want to talk about these cards right now, okay? I want everybody to pay attention.
And if you measure out the amount of downtime between instruction, getting the card, and managing or responding, it's a lot.
This is a what? What kind of graph?
And if we back that up, right, they're done with equal groups at 240. And it doesn't really look like she has a good plan about what's going to happen next.
This is a what?
10 seconds of pure silence, which, you don't think is a lot. But when you look at the flow of how this is going, it feels like a lot.
What graph is this? Picture graph. In this picture graph, what is it telling you?
Information.
What is the section showing you soccer balls? What is that showing you?
And notice the variety of different answers that kids are giving. That's going to be normal, but there's no protocol for answering. Is it just shout? Some kids started raising their hands earlier, but then stopped because they seemed it was a free-for-all. And again, that's confusing. and everything she's doing seems to be geared towards trying to control the behavior, but not really focused on the learning.
They like more balls.
They like more soccer balls. Their favorite toy are soccer balls. What about the skates?
35. No, 0.
What about
A lot of numbers there. No correction.
animals? Is that the most liked or the least liked?
That's 4.
Okay, so the most liked would be what toy?
Wow.
The soccer balls. The least liked would be
Teddy bears.
the teddy bears.
Okay, so some kids answered. A lot of kids are clueless, but she's just going to keep plowing on.
That's right. That's how we read a picture graph.
And that's how you read a picture graph, apparently. Again, most of the kids aren't following. A lot of different answers, not really clear what the point of that was. Again, so I have no doubt that when you do this stuff, you will have definite objectives that you're trying to meet, and everything you do will be getting kids to get towards those objectives.
Do you remember what this word is? Survey.
So some kids were starting to sound it out, and then she just said it again.
Can anybody tell me what a survey is? Rihanna. Does anybody want to help her out?
At the food.
Chase Wilson.
It means somebody there's 3 apples right there, and
So a survey.
Now, if you're going to ask kids to define something, you better have a really good definition yourself. Something simple that makes sense to whatever grade level or age level you're teaching. The way that she describes is coming up leaves something to be desired.
Survey is actually when you ask a bunch of people, what's your favorite food? And they count how many people like that food and how many people don't like that food.
And here again, this isn't the examples that she was using. It's not a yes or no. It's just the example she was using was what's your favorite food or what's your favorite toy, and people had to select from a list, but they didn't do a yes, no, 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 no kind of thing. The way she's describing it is inconsistent with what they've been doing. It's not always about food. She could use the words data. She could use the words graph. She could use the concepts they've been using when you're talking about a survey. And a survey is just a bunch of questions you ask people to find out things about them. And that's a simple definition. Then she should go into some examples, right? But again, I think that's something that you can figure out and would improve on if you were teaching this lesson.
So they're taking a survey of how many people like something or don't like something, and then they're recording that information. Am I putting these in these?
So now here, again, another example of kind of dead time. It's at 4:48 right now. It's 4:47 when it started. But watch how much time she spends doing this and not doing anything else.
yeah.
Not even looking at the students.
And
Survey.
Okay. All right. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to ask.
So now there's going to be a shift in the activity where they're going to make a graph. And usually I ask people to critique it and talk about ways that it could be better, but we'll watch it and talk about it after.
I'm going to ask you a question. We're going to make a graph. And I'm going to ask you a question about...
Could use the word survey there.
How many teeth you lost?
I
Has anybody lost no teeth at all?
Tough way to phrase the question, right? Has anybody lost no teeth? Hard mathematically to figure out. Maybe a better way of asking would be, does anybody have all of their baby teeth yet?
Has everybody in the room at least lost one tooth?
Words, if qualifiers like at least or at most are tough with this age group.
I just got one tooth to the left teeth.
Not working so well.
Raise your hand if you've lost no teeth.
Not me.
You've lost no teeth? No, you've never lost a tooth?
Okay, so now she counted. She didn't tell people what she was doing. She just counted, and she's going to try to remember. But again, the entire process is invisible to the kids.
Raise your hand if you've lost one tooth. Okay, raise your hand if you've lost two teeth.
Her hand's up. Her hand's still up.
And raise your hand if you have lost. You're going to take...
Now, the problem there again was, right, when you say if you've lost one tooth, 2 teeth, 3 teeth, somebody who's lost 3 teeth will raise their hand for 1 and 2 as well, because that's true. You can see the graph behind. When I ask people, usually they point out that there's no data labels. There's no axis, about what this is supposed to be or what this is supposed to be. I don't know what process she did, but people usually come up with, making a human graph where kids get themselves in a line. You put the doc cam or the iPad cam on, it goes up on the smart board, right? And you can see them being arranged. Then you go up and you draw it out. And then you ask another question again, right? And you go through this a couple times. And it's fun, it's active, they're moving, but they can visually see how it's getting made. Then maybe you might want to have them make it themselves. She's going to go into another part of the lesson now. So they've reviewed some words, they've made a graph in theory, and now they're going to do a worksheet. And so here are the directions for the worksheet.
One of these worksheets to your desk, and you're going to look at this picture graph. And what I want you to do is you've got information, your data up here, and you have your pictures right here to give you a clue. You're going to say you're doing the hot dog, which is the first column. You're going to count how many tally marks are next to the hot dog. And for each tally mark, you're going to color in a box.
And note how little she is looking at the students. She is avoiding eye contact with them. I don't know if it's because she doesn't want to see, but she is focused on that piece of paper, and she doesn't look at the class for like 30 seconds or a minute.
So however many are right next to the hot dog sign, that's how many boxes you're going to color in. And then, if you finish this early, once you do all of your boxes here, I want all the tally marks for each one of these, your hot dog, pizza, taco, and hamburger. I want you to turn your sheet over, and then you're just going to write your numbers from 1 to 100. Kind of like what we did with
That's supposed to be some sort of differentiation. Again, has nothing to do with what they're doing, but giving the kids who finish faster something to do. Would be better, of course, if they related it to the actual building of a graph or interpretation of graphic data.
Counting on the chart, you're going to go through and you're going to write those numbers to 100. Then after...
And somebody just asked by tens or by ones, but she didn't answer.
And with that, I'm going to have you pair up with your neighbor, and we're going to answer these questions together down here on the bottom. So the questions are, how many students ordered tacos or pizza? And you're going to evaluate your graph. You're going to look at your graph, and you're going to use your colored graph to find the answers to those together, and you're going to talk about that. Okay? And I'm going to come around and check on you. So if you have any questions, I'll be around to help you. Does everybody understand what we're doing?
Do you understand what you're doing? That was a lot of directions, right? It would be much better to break that down into different parts and make sure that you do it while the kids have the stuff in front of them, so there's actually some kind of connection with the materials and the objects and so on. But we'll see how it goes.
And raise your hand when you're all done, when you're ready to listen to me. Shh.
That one kid raised his hand there.
You're just sitting in your seats with your partner.
Put it down.
No, where's your partner?
Toby, go sit with Christina. Take your paper.
Not a lot of kids raising their hands. Look at this girl. That guy.
All eyes up here.
But again, the lack of consistency, the lack of procedures that are involved in the classroom and the classroom climate just lends itself to people not knowing what to do with themselves.
Voice is off. Ears listening to Mrs. Darby, okay? Okay, so we're going to go over these questions. I want you to turn to your partner, and I want you to ask them how many students ordered pizza. You're going to turn to your partner and ask and tell them how many students ordered pizza.
So right now already it's kind of confusing, because if I'm with a partner, right, do we both ask people at the same time how many people ordered pizza, and then are we both supposed to answer, or is one person supposed to answer and one person supposed to ask? Do we have different data, or is it all the same? Unsure of what's going on.
And you're going to get your information. Everybody look at me.
And she didn't want them to do it yet, but everyone is doing it already, right? But this is still part of the direction, so that would need to be rephrased too.
You're going to get your information from your graph that you colored in up here, okay? So everybody do that, and then once you,
She's having a rough day.
Thumbs up when you're done sharing.
Teacher, adding in things. Good if it's, you're first starting out or whatever, but bad on the NTPA video.
And then go back and have her write the number. And then just go step by step.
Okay, everybody turn to your partner and share how many students ordered pizza, and then give me a thumbs up when you know.
Okay, now the question is, how long should that take? And if, you think about it, I turn and say, how many people ordered pizza? Somebody counts 4. I might count 2. Not sure what's going on there. But that will take about 5 seconds. We'll see how much time this takes.
How many people ordered pizza?
Not a lot of happiness there. Maybe it's the scissors in his hand and she feels threatened. We're not sure about that. Okay. He's like, fair enough, 4. You look at the paper, not sure what's going on there.
Lincoln, who are you supposed to share with?
No,
right here. Share, please.
She's just kind of staring at her paper in silence. He starts twiddling his pencil around. Again,
Did everybody discuss it with their partner? I need more thumbs up. Alex, and just say that you're ready.
So they're done, right? But there's nothing else to do. And it keeps going. It keeps going. Keeps going.
Okay, because we're talking about, right, you don't understand why there's...
Now remember, she answered 4 right away, and we're not sure if that's right or wrong, but we'll see what kind of feedback she gets. Meanwhile, of course, the rest of the class is just kind of sitting there.
You were just pointing at the hot dogs, but in the first question, we wanted to know how many students ordered pizza. So then where would you go on your picture graph to find that information? Show me where the pizza's at. Right there. And then you're going to count your boxes. Count your boxes right next to the pizza. That's right next to the what? Okay. Count your boxes right next to the pizza. Let's count them together. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how you get your 4.
And that's what she answered initially.
I fixed it.
What was your answer? How many students ordered pizza?
Now she's just sitting there again. Partner's gone.
Your picture graph again?
These girls are just sitting there,
Find your
chatting
pizza
it up,
on your picture graph.
and it just keeps going. right? Keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. That one question takes 5+ minutes to investigate. And you ask yourself what could have been done better in that case. Well, it seems like some kind of modeling, right? Having problems that you do with the class, take them through the actual process, make it concrete. How many people order pizza? Which one of these is pizza, right? And let's count them: 1, 2, 3, 4. That means 4 people like pizza. Then go to the next one, go to the next one, go to the next one. Then have it, be a case where they either work by themselves or in groups to answer additional questions to get practice with the actual skill. If we try to think about, right, rating this in terms of the rubrics, let me make this a little bit bigger. Right, the first one is the learning environment. And again, you want to be at a 3. I wouldn't say that the candidate demonstrates a lot of rapport, right? I would say she respects the students. I wouldn't say it's disrespectful in most cases. However, when we look at the bottom, you might say that candidate does allow disruptive behavior to interfere with student learning. Now, there's nothing overt, but there is a general lack of classroom management skill. And people might put this person at a 1. Level 2, candidate provides a learning environment that serves primarily to control student behavior and minimally supports the learning goals. This is closer to where I would put her. She's somewhere between a 1 or a 2, but I would probably put her as a 2. Definitely not a positive, low-risk learning environment, right, that reviews mutual respect. Isn't challenging given the amount of stuff that they've covered and how many people are actually doing things. And it doesn't give students an opportunity to explain themselves. Tough to do. I think that a level 5 actually is really hard to do with first graders unless you have a bunch of first graders who are very pro-social and highly capable, socially speaking. If we look at engaging student learning, right, we don't know what the learning goals here are, but we can talk about, we know that it has something to do with sight words, building graphs, creating graphs, reading graphs, answering questions about graphs, and so on, basically reading data or data literacy skills, which is a big thing these days. If we start at a 3, right, students are engaged in learning tasks that address their understanding, kind of, and related skills, but the way that they're framed, I don't know how many skills are being built in a broad sense. Does she link para-academic learning to new literacy learning? A little bit, right? In terms of working with teeth, trying to keep it in terms of foods that they like and toys and so on. So that makes sense. It's really more of a cultural community asset. She is trying to remind them about things that they had talked about before, but not great. If we go down to a 2, students are participating in learning tasks, focusing primarily on skills with little attention to the general strategy. This is closer. It might even be a 1, again, somewhere in here. Thinking about these 2 down here, right? Vague or superficial links between para-academic learning and new. She doesn't really do a great job. It's kind of there, but I would definitely put her in a 2 category, maybe even down to a 1. But I'd keep her out of a 1 because she is using kind of age-appropriate ideas and examples. If we talk about deepening student learning, this is all about asking follow-up questions, right, and refining understanding. Well, understanding wasn't there to begin with, and so hard to really go with that one. Definitely at a 2, might even again be at a 1. If we talk about opportunities for guided practice, right, she gives a lot of practice opportunities, but are they really practice opportunities? Because she gives them one simple task and then they spend 5 minutes answering one question. And there's no redirection, there's no kind of come together as a class, because it seems like a lot of people are having the same problem and a lot of people are done immediately in 3 seconds. So there needs to be something else done there, not at a 3 level, probably at a 2. I don't think it's all the way down to a 1. And when we go with analyzing teaching effectiveness, that's basically what we're doing right now, right? Only the added part would be when we're going back and critiquing ourselves, or when you're back critiquing yourself, the suggestions that you make and the things that you point out, you tie to research and theory. Things about scaffolding in the zone of proximal development, things about enforcing or reinforcing memories, or accessing memories, or lesson building knowledge construction, right? All those different types of theories about cognition, about why you might try something different in terms of working memory capacity or self-regulation capacity of this particular age group, right? You can talk about different developmental theories there. That's what you would be doing for this. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'm going to send out another video. I'd like you to watch it and note the things that this person is doing better, and it's much better. But I will just send that link out with this particular video.